Good afternoon, everybody. This is a special meeting of the Grosse Township Public Services Commission to be held May 10th. And this is a regular meeting that was canceled last Tuesday night because we didn't have a quorum with people out of town. So at any rate, for those that are watching, this is the Public Service Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll. Costick here. Kennedy?
Here.
Schmidtke?
Present, sir.
Nadeau?
Here.
And John Reilly and Laura Zawaideh are not be available for this meeting. Next, entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda, or today's agenda.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Any comments, additions, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Next, we have the minutes of our March 8th meeting, and I'll make a motion to approve. Well, I can't because I wasn't at the meeting. So, Phil, can you make a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Support.
Moved and supported that the minutes be approved. You've all had a chance to look at them. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, we have the approval of bills, the vouchers that are contained starting on page 9 that run through page 14 or 15. Do you have any questions about the bills? I had none.
We'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Support.
Supported that the bills as presented to us be approved. Are there any comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bills are approved. Next, we have a statement of revenues and expenditures, and of course, this is the first 30-day period of our fiscal year, so not much has been booked so far in terms of activity. Any questions on that? If on our statement of revenues and expenditures, if there's no questions, we'll just receive and file that report. No questions? Hearing none, okay. Next is the Treasurer's report. And you all received a revised second page of the Treasurer's report this evening that was handed out to you that is a little more complete than the one that was in the packet. So the Treasurer's report summarizes all the public service funds, water, sewer, and roads, drains, and other things, and all of our public service activities. If there's any questions on the Treasurer's report?
The only question is, I didn't get one.
You want a
Right there.
revised one? Here.
Okay, there you go. Got one now.
Bill, you had,
He got one. It was a couple of rows up.
and in particular for the drainage fund and the road fund, that handout tonight brings it up to date. I don't think the treasurer, I don't think your assistant had time, the finance director had time to update it for our meeting when it was prepared, and she and I talked and it's been updated, so thank you, Dave.
Added the tax collection in there. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to receive and approve the treasurer's report. Is there support?
I'll second it.
Moved and supported that the treasurer's report for April be approved, April 2022. Any comments, questions? If none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Treasurer's report is received. First item, now we have opportunity for public to be heard. So item number 9 on our agenda is public comment. We have 2 guests in the audience. We have Bob Zelenko. Did I say that wrong, Bob? Zelasco, sorry. It's been a while since I pronounced your last name. Thank you for being here, and Linda Stanko. Linda, thank you for being here. Bob, does anybody wish to comment? I think Linda's here to see how we operate. Bob, you're welcome to attend. Come to the podium.
Bob Zalasko, Blauvelt, one of the residents on a dirt road. First of all, in opening, my gratitude to the board, to Derek, John, for the service that you provide for us who live on dirt roads. I think, what do we have, 7, 9 dirt roads? I can't remember how many. Not only the dust control, but the maintenance too. Done a great job. People don't realize, I think not everybody does, how much traffic our dirt roads really get. For example, I mean the trash haulers, the school buses with the double axles, the stopping, the starting, the turning, they can really wear a dirt road quickly. Not to mention, I think just about every house has 2 to 3 cars today, so I think it's safe to say in my little subdivision we have a couple hundred vehicles coming in and out of there every day. So it is so very important to have the dust control. I'm going to wait to hear Derek's report tonight. I'm looking forward. Hopefully we can get Dilbert in here with his Durabond. I think he owns the patent on that, doesn't he, Derek? I know he has a lot of business from Michigan all the way to Florida, and he's a busy man. But I think we'll all agree that the Durabond material, I think it's safe to say, would outlast the calcium chloride 3 to 1 easily. So looking forward to getting that. And I'm just one person up here, but I bring thanks from many of my residents. They are very appreciative. They can't come to the meetings, but they look forward to the maintenance you people are providing for our dirt roads. It's very important. Dust becomes a health issue. It can get very, very bad if it's not maintained. I think I've mentioned before, I've seen people cut grass with masks on long before COVID came, before you fellas started helping us out. So, again, very appreciative. Looking forward to the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob, I got a question to ask you.
Yes, sir.
What street do you live on?
I live on Blauvelt, right at the light where Chicory is when
You
you come on the
pronounced
island.
that wrong. In all the years I worked in the DPW, we always said Blavet or Blauvol or something, till I heard the right pronunciation of that road.
You're not French, are you?
It's Blavet.
I checked on the, it was named after a French general. So
Ah, there you go.
there are a couple different pronunciations on it that are published. But thanks for the correction.
Yeah, we used to laugh at each other when you got a water main break on Blavet.
Yeah. Where the heck is that, you know? Okay. Thank you.
And I wonder what the pronunciation of dust would be in French.
I don't know. Ask Les.
Yeah, I live on a gravel road also.
All right, with that, we'll turn the agenda over to our Township Manager and Director of Public Services, Derek Thiel. Derek?
I'll handle a little bit of Ryan's report for this evening. Just he wasn't able to attend today either because of scheduling conflicts. Regarding the plant, the chairman and I, as well as Ron Moran of the Commerce
Oh, that's
Park
right.
Commission.
I'm sorry. That's before the dust report. I'm sorry.
No problem. We've been meeting over at the wastewater treatment plant to try to formulate a game plan for the landscaping budget line item that was put together in this year's budget. So eventually the DPS Commission will be getting a proposal to review. But we've brought in a couple of different individuals to take a look at, various ideas, and then we'll end up having to bid, what those ideas are, and put it out for bid. So you guys will eventually see something here, probably for like a fall planting is what we're looking at. As well as a sprinkler system. I believe there's appointments later this week on Wednesday to have vendors out to take a look at the sprinkler system out there to determine what's necessary and how to get that up and running. So that was another budgeted line item project that we have for this year. As you probably saw on the agenda, we do have a large purchase of equipment for the primary clarifier, so that's going to be a fairly large project for the plant for this summer. And then sludge hauling should start about next week. So those were updates from Ryan under his report. The first action item I have under my report is action item A, and that is dust control. So before you is a proposal that was put together between the chairman, John Keim, and myself that lays out a application schedule for this summer. And if there's a motion, I can go into an explanation of why it was put together this way.
Okay, so we have before us a motion that says the Public Service Commission recommends to the Grosse Ile Township Board the contracting of Big Barney's for one application of calcium chloride dust control material at a cost of $11,600 to be applied in the beginning of June. Furthermore, the Township Public Service Commission hereby recommends that to the Township Board the contracting of D&D emulsions for one application of dust suppressant at a cost of $49,815 to be applied in late June or early July, and that should last for the rest of the summer. Now that's a little more than we've been accustomed to spending, but we had problems last year, and hopefully these can be avoided this year by going to the dust bond.
So Dust Bond, if you recall, wasn't interested in coming out and providing their service during the years that the bridge was closed. They didn't want to deal with the toll bridge. So now that the Wayne County Bridge is open, they're willing to come over and provide that service. The only issue with the dust bond material is they're at least 3 weeks out from authorization to proceed. So this item is on the agenda for the Township Board on May 23rd. So you're looking at probably the tail end of June before they could come out and put on the dust bond material. I'm not sure that our roads can wait that long, so kind of a hybrid proposal was put together to present to you this evening that would hopefully carry us through with the calcium chloride, because that can be applied sooner until the dust bond can come out and provide that service. In addition, it might allow us to do the dust bond a little bit later so that it can carry us through the balance of the summertime. Because we are only proposing one application, we want to try to make sure that we kind of hit that mark as far as putting it on as late as we can so it lasts as long as possible. If you recall, we've only applied one application of dust bond over the past probably 10 or 11 years. A summary of our application history is listed on page 24. The last time we did 2 applications of dust bond was 2010, and the first application was July, and the second application was September. So applying it in July is kind of consistent with what we did at least in 2010, and that's what's being proposed for this evening. If it's the opinion of the DPS Commission that you just want to stick with the dust bond, we are going to have some time between now and when we could get it scheduled where there is going to be some lack of coverage on the dirt road. So that's why this hybrid, format was kind of thought up. So.
Go ahead. I'll get you up here.
I'll support the motion that was made.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry.
nobody made a motion yet. I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay.
You support.
Support. Okay.
We have the money in the budget to do this. So with that, are there other questions from the board?
I'm not in favor of putting any calcium chloride down. Be truthful with you. Because I've seen it on my street, and they don't want to put it down. A couple of days later, it rains. It's all gone. It looks like a waste of money and time.
So your recommendation would be just to do the one dust bond?
Right.
Okay.
Make sure they do a good job and glue it down.
Bob, you wanted to comment?
Thank you for letting me comment before you vote. I understand what Les is saying, but I do appreciate the fact that you're looking out for our best interest with the initial calcium chloride, because as we know, once that is disrupted, which it has been graded a couple times, and we start getting the heat that we're getting now. I mean, my road right now, I got one car that sits outside. It was washed last week. I can show it to you now. It's just completely covered with dust. So I can understand the $11,000 cost, and you fellas are doing the best you can with the monies that you have. But I think that initial application would probably keep us going for a couple weeks anyway. And as Derek said, if Dilbert is late at getting in, it will help fill the void before he can get here. I appreciate what Les is saying, but I, as a resident, knowing the condition of my road right now, most of the people drive slow, not all of them do, and the ones that don't, it's really pretty bad. Between May and June, when the sun comes out, after that bottom layer is disrupted with the grading, that is some of the worst time. So, just my comments only. Thank you very much.
Bob, has the county already graded your road? I know they've been up and down my road twice that I know of.
Yeah, Derek has done an excellent job keeping our potholes filled. Last time he had them bring some additional substrate out, some rocks, and right in the turn where the school bus and the trash haulers turn, that's very critical right there, and it has made a big, big difference. So, yes, it has been graded, and it's, I can't say I didn't want it graded because we really needed it. The potholes were really pretty bad.
Yeah, the same with Girls Hill Parkway.
Yes.
When they went down there, I'm going, what are they doing now?
Les, here's my dilemma, and we don't know this, but I'm in favor of proceeding with both the calcium chloride, and we've already had some warm weather, and everybody on the western part of the country has been experiencing this heat wave already. We don't know what we're in store for. I would think we ought to put the calcium chloride down and hope that the bond will, if we put it down later, will get us through the whole season. So I'd like to ask you, we need 4 votes to approve anything tonight.
Okay, I'm not gonna back out. I was just looking at trying to save almost $12,000.
Me too, and I discussed this with with Derek and John Keim, and John's out of town. John really feels strongly that given the number of complaints he's received, that this would help everybody's situation.
Just to clarify, this isn't a matter of us kind of sitting on our hands. The benefit, I mean, if we could have done this earlier, the dust bond could have been applied earlier, but it's more than just that. It's about trying to get that dust bond to last us all the way actually through September. So this allows us to delay that application a little bit anyways, which we want to try to do to make sure it makes it all the way through the season. So, because, August and September are bad months as well until we start getting those fall rains. It's a pretty dusty end of the summertime with the heat that we
Well,
get.
if you drive down my street, Derek, you can see there's an area in front of my house. It looks like it's cement from all the dust bond that went down. It's really there for a long time, especially when the county grades the road. The stuff they grade over it is pushed off to the side and nothing flat. But some of that dust bond really holds on for a long time.
If I may, it's fantastic stuff. They have actually broke the road grader in front of my house trying to bring that, after that dust bond is on there. It's like you say, it's like rock.
Yeah.
They actually burned out the transmission on the road grader one year trying to bring that up. So it's great stuff. Thank you for the opportunity to comment, Les. Thank you, and the folks. I think the $12,000 that you're going to be spending is going to affect a couple thousand of people, and I'm sure they'll be very appreciative. Thank you.
Bob, could you I have a question for Derek, and maybe you could comment. So in the perfect world, what would we be doing? When would we be applying the one application of dust bond, and would that last through the season? In other words,
So we'd be looking at calcium chloride like.
no, I'm talking about next year. Let's this
Gotcha.
year's over,
Well,
but next year, what would
I would like
we
to see
propose?
how that dust bond performs if we do it. If we apply it in the end of June, beginning of July, I'd like to see how that performs at the tail end of the application. So let's say 3 months down the road, and if
It breaks
So we've
up.
only had, though,
So it's
one
some-
applications for 10 years. When was it put on in those years?
and I wasn't here when it was applied, so
That's why I asked Bob to stick
I
around.
think it was about the beginning of June, right where you're at right now. I think it was beginning of June because
So you had problems-
we went through May.
You had problems all
times.
past years up until the dust bond got applied.
The dust bond made all the difference in the world. As Les says, after they put that down, you can go out there with a spade and try and you
Right.
can't break it. It's fantastic.
So I guess my question is, looking forward,
Right. Well,
not this year, just looking forward, what would our ideal plan be for 2023?
come August and September, what has been the performance of that material?
It starts to weaken, but you're giving yourself an option. I like your plan because if it does get real bad, rather than spending another $50,000 on Durabond, if it was really bad, you could put another calcium chloride on at the end. Hopefully, we won't need it. But putting it on in June, beginning of June, and hopefully Dilbert can get out here then. If he gets to the end of the June and into July, sure, it'll last a little longer, but we're going to be sucking a lot of dust prior to then. So the calcium chloride is a lifesaver for the interim
So
here.
would the ideal thing to do be to apply the dust bond, I'm talking about 2023, it's not far off, in mid-May, and then at the end of the season, see if we needed to apply a calcium chloride
And
solution?
it also varies
What would-
depending upon the year. If you have a lot of precipitation in the beginning of the summertime, then you don't need it as much, But if you have a real dry spring, then you might need it sooner. So it does vary depending upon the given year. I guess your ideal situation, probably beginning of June, and hope that it carries you through all the way
Bob
through
says
September.
we're already, his cars are already covered with dust. It's mid-May.
If I may, Phil, I think what he's offering you is another option. Instead of putting it at the beginning, put the dust or the calcium chloride at the tail end, which either way will work.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we schedule I'm just looking ahead, but I'm thinking if we schedule the dust bond early to preclude the problems that he's facing right now, that the residents are facing, and then at the end of the season, see where we are if we need a calcium chloride application.
That's possible. You can do it in the reverse to what we're doing right
Because
now.
I'm thinking if we go mid-June next year, you're gonna have dirty cars up until then and dust in the streets and everybody.
And it is a little bit, like I mentioned, a little bit of a moving target depending upon what kind of precipitation you have in a given year. But yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of doing it the way we're doing it now, but I'm trying to think maybe a better alternative would be to do the fill-in at the end instead of the beginning.
Becomes a weather issue and.
Correct.
and-
That's your variable, as Derek said, the
Yeah, and
weather.
if-
If you have a real wet May, you can do that. If you don't, you got a different
Right,
situation.
I mean, like this seems like we're going from, winter straight to summer,
Right.
waiting any longer, certainly this year, and if we can get it earlier next year.
I think either option would work. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Well, I know that in the past, when some of the dust bond failed in some of the places, they came out and put a second application of dust bond down, but they didn't do all of the roads that they did. Just they went and did the ones that were some of the areas that were breaking up. But after the 1st of September, and I don't know if you've seen this, here comes the county with the grader. They don't care if that road is dust bond. They don't care what it is. Since I've been retired and sat at home for 10 years, here comes the grader, grades the road. I'm going, why are they grading the road? There's nothing wrong with it. I think they go out of their way just to destroy that.
Well, I think Derek has some control over that.
Yeah, and matter of fact, last summer we were doing grading before every dust application to make sure it had a nice surface before we wet it down. So
Yes,
Um,
yes.
But yeah, we could probably touch base with them about holding off on it. If once the dust bond material's down, unless the road's getting such poor shape. But what you're saying about this material, it sounds like it puts a pretty good crust on it, so you don't get even as much of the potholing as what you would have or washboarding effect. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's an exact science. There is a little bit of variables that we have to take into consideration that impact when we put it down, what time of the year, how much, what material. So there's a little bit of a feeling out as to how we do these things. So, but the proposal before you, I think, addresses the short-term concerns, but also addresses the long-term concerns and tries to hit that target the best that we can, because we kind of got, one real good shot with that dust bond material and, try to carry us through so it lasts as long as we possibly can make it last, right? So.
So, the motion is to start off with Big Barney's at 11,006 sometime in June or towards the end of June, and to follow up when needed with the dust bond suppressant at 49,815 to be applied in late June or early July. hopefully for the rest of the season. So, that's the motion. It's been supported. I think it's been supported.
Oh, okay.
And I think you supported it, Dave, right? Yeah. And if there's no further comment, we'll just call the question. Is there further comment? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Approval. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation from the Public Service Commission to the Township Board for contracting with Hydro Corp for the purpose of commencing with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, the required Grosse Ile Township residential backflow prevention program. We have budgeted $21,400 for this item. It's in our budget. And Derek, the report that Derek has prepared explains the state found us deficient in basically our residential backflow prevention program. And this applies to most residences that have either an automatic irrigation system or swimming pools. Would you care to enhance that?
Yep, that's a good explanation. We had an audit in the tail end of 2020 that identified one deficiency with regards to our water system, and that was that we didn't have an active residential backflow prevention program, which has been a mandate since the original 1976 legislation, but it's something that Eagle or DEQ prior to that never really enforced. So starting, I'd say probably 5 or 6 years ago, they really started enforcing this regulation that requires municipalities or water service or water providers to have a residential backflow system. And for the benefit of the residents, a backflow system is a piece of infrastructure that exists that keeps water from a business or a residence from backing up into the municipal water supply. It avoids a siphoning effect. So basically, if the water pressure drops within our mains, much like if you put a hose in a bucket and then you suck on it and you let it go, it'll actually start flowing water back into the system. And if you have a hose or something or an irrigation system that's tied into the municipal supply and you have this negative pressure, it actually can pull contaminated water out of whatever that water supply is connected to. Like if a hose is laying in a pool or something, it'll actually start siphoning that water up into our system. And then we end up distributing it to the residents, and it can cause a problem with contamination. So those risks exist both in an industrial supply or an industrial facility, a commercial facility, but also in a residential facility. So as the letter indicates, the legislation never differentiated between the requirement for an industrial facility, a commercial facility, or a residential facility. So they really just started expanding on that lack of definition, like I said, about 5-6 years ago, and enforcing the need for a residential program. So what I would like to do, what administration would like to do, is to go ahead and outsource that work. I think the amount of workload that's required with this is something that we don't have the staff to handle. There is one outfit that's kind of the benchmark for providing those services within the state of Michigan and especially within the downriver communities. That company is Hydro Corp. They had put a proposal together for us when we were in the process of formulating the budget, and their cost to provide this service in the initial year is the $21,400, and that's based upon the cost for the first step in this action. So the state, after the audit, required us to put a plan together to address that deficiency. Like most communities, the state is allowing you to implement this program over a 3-year period of time. So the first step in the process is to identify what residences might have a backflow risk. The second step would be to go out and identify those properties that either didn't respond to the survey that they sent out in the first step, or review properties that said they might have it but were unsure of exactly what they had, to confirm those residences that need a backflow program, or backflow infrastructure. And then the third step would be to go ahead and make sure that all those residences get their backflow systems inspected, and we have record that they have functioning backflow systems within the homes for the infrastructure, the items they might have at their home, like a pool or an irrigation system. So this is the first step in a 3-year program to make sure that we bring our program into compliance, and that's a proposal that's before you guys tonight.
The document you have lists all their clients statewide, but it includes Wyandotte, Flat Rock, Woodhaven, Trenton, Taylor, Southgate, so all of our neighboring communities. Any questions about the report?
Eric, are there ongoing maintenance costs, replacement costs, anything after this initial?
So yeah, the DPS commission and the township should be aware of township board should be aware of a couple of things. This program is, for our residents here, is going to be a new program. It's going to be a program that is going to cost them some money to make sure they're in compliance with it. So depending upon the type of backflow system you have on your, whatever you have at your home, it'll fall into an inspection schedule. So anywhere between 1 and 5 years, you'll have to have your system inspected, and there's a cost to that. Depending upon what it is, it can be anywhere from $30 up to $100 to have a plumber that's licensed to inspect these come out and certify that it's an operating condition. So obviously, anytime that the residents are expected to incur some additional cost for governmental compliance, obviously there's concerns with that, and we completely understand that. But it is a requirement under Eagle to make sure that you're doing that. The other thing is, the first step here, the one that's being proposed under this quote, is to do a survey of the residents. So basically, the residents will get a letter in the mail, and it'll say, hey, please indicate whether you have any of these things at your home: a pool, a hot tub, irrigation system that draws on municipal water, any of these other items, so that they can identify, HydroCorp can identify whether that exists in the home, something that they need to be aware of. So people get a little bit nervous about that. It's a little bit of an intrusion to their privacy, or it's viewed as such. So there will be some feedback from the residents as to why, how come, why do you need this information, why do you need to know what I'm doing. So undoubtedly administration will get those questions, undoubtedly the DPS commission will get those questions, and undoubtedly the township board will get those questions. So I don't know if that answered your question or not. I expounded a little bit on it, but those are concerns.
Okay.
Theoretically, we have a commercial backflow prevention program anyway we've been conforming to. But theoretically, if you hired a plumber, licensed plumber, the backflow prevention should have been installed correctly. So there shouldn't be any additional
Right.
costs except for whatever the
Most of
inspection
your
costs.
sprinkler systems out there, if they were installed by way of code, they'll have a backflow program or system on them. Sometimes for, the filling of a pool, a vacuum breaker on an exterior spigot is all you need, and there's really no cost associated with that. A couple of bucks at Lowe's. But this really, the importance of this is to make sure that the municipal supply is safe for the residents. Last thing we want is 30,000 gallons of pool water getting sucked up into our water system that isn't water to be consumed by residents, and it contributes to a contamination of our water supply, and people get sick. So there's a reason behind this, and it's essential to ensure that we're not only in compliance but also providing a safe utility to our residents.
Other questions or comments?
Well, the comment I got is, Derek, we knew this was coming because when I was interim manager, we started the backflow prevention program as far as going to all the places that have backflow preventers and getting them tested and getting a report in and send that report into the state. And we knew that this was coming sooner or later because it was always written. So must have been somebody sitting around up there not doing too much, and they're going, hey, how come we don't have this done? And that's probably why they're pushing this mandate. But yeah, it's going to be a nightmare. Are we going to have a plumber do this on these yard sprinkling systems, or can the operator that put the sprinkling system in and the backflow preventer do it?
So it is gonna be the residents' responsibility to make sure that they comply with the inspection mandate. What I've seen is that the township will provide to residents when they ask, because we'll get asked, well, how do I bring myself into compliance? I don't know who to call. The township will normally, or the city will normally maintain a list that says, these are all contractors, plumbers that have the certification to test these backflow assemblies, and then we can provide that to the resident, and then they'll have to schedule a time for that individual to come out and inspect their assembly. I have seen in the past too, and it's something that we can talk about, where the township or the municipality will bid out the service, and it will negotiate a set rate for its residents, so that from an economies of scale standpoint, there's an option for the resident to say, okay, the township has bid these services, it's a flat $40 fee, to have this inspection done. If you use this provider, you're more welcome to go and find somebody that's cheaper, or pick whoever you want, but if you go through the vendor that we bid these services out for, this is the cost, kind of a collaborative bid, that we can extend that price to the homeowner. So, that's an option as well. So we can look at this a couple of different ways. But the fortunate part is Eagle has allowed the tiering of this, or the scheduling, or the setup of this over a 3-year period, and we really don't have to answer those questions for probably another 24 months as HydroCorp kind of starts this thing out. We got a little bit of time yet. So,
Any other questions? Hearing none. The motion before us is to recommend to the Township Board contracting with HydroCorp for their proposed price of $21,400 not to exceed for the purpose of Phase 1 of commencing the required residential backflow prevention program.
I will second that motion.
I made the motion, and Les seconded it. If there are no other questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item is a recommendation from the Public Service Commission to the Township Board from Charles Raines Company for the completion of the Township's Water Asset Management Plan in accordance with Rule 1606 of the Michigan Safe Drinking Act. Our engineers have put together a proposal, and it's found on pages 49 and 50. All the different things that they would do. This is something that we were supposed to approve last year, and we expected this to happen or come before the commission. The total cost of all the labor involved, and this is labor intensive, is $82,406. So this is a requirement under the Safe Drinking Act that we have to comply with. You've all had a chance to look at the report. Derek, you have any other comments?
nope, that was a good explanation. This is a budgeted item. We did put money aside to do this work in anticipation of this requirement.
Get things started, I'll make the motion for approval. Is there support?
Support.
Dave, Nadeau supported. Any further questions?
I have one
Phil.
question.
Yep.
When they talk about beginning work as soon as the leaves are off the trees,
Yeah, so this is going to be
gonna happen till next fall?
right, this upcoming fall. Yep, fall and winter of this month, or this year. I'm sorry, of this month. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
The key with this is to make sure that we have authorized this contract so we can show to the state that we've commenced with it, we're in the process of compliance. If there are reasons that they can't complete certain parts of this work because of leaf cover, foliage cover, that's understandable, but what the state wants to see is that we've executed a contract, we're moving forward, it's in process. So what we don't want is to sit on this till the fall and then deal with it then, because then you end up in a situation where we haven't taken action to move forward on this. So
Stupid to ask what the tree leaves have to do with it?
it has to do with the GPSing. So
Okay.
Yep.
So, okay, it's for the scan, all right.
Yep.
I got a question on that. Weren't we already scanning all that stuff?
For sanitary sewer.
For the
So
manholes.
we do have a base map for all our sanitary sewer system. This is actually to build the water system onto the sanitary system as well. So those will overlay as utilities on top.
I could have swore that, I remember John had this little gizmo when he goes to the hydrant and the valve, and he touches this stuff in.
Yeah, that was for manholes, Les. And John was gonna do it, if you remember, and then he didn't have time to do it.
Well, that was for sanitary, yeah.
Sanitary, yeah.
Yep. So they did do some work about 4 years ago with some inventory, but as far as the GPSing and all that, that wasn't anything that we had done already. So they did do some work with inventory, but not to the extent that they are with this, which this is what's required, is to go to that extent.
Okay, so Raines is gonna come out here and do that, the whole island.
Correct, yes.
All right, are there other questions? Hearing none. You have a motion and a second to, from the Charles Raines, to approve the Charles Raines Company, our engineers, for completion of the required water asset management plan in accordance with Rule 1606 of the Michigan Safe Drinking Act and the orders that were under from the state for our water system for $82,406. If there are no further questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. The next item is for the Public Service Commission to recommend to the Township Board the purchase of equipment to rebuild one primary clarifier at the Grossio wastewater treatment plant via the sole source purchase provision, and that means sole source supplier, to commence the process to bid the installation of this equipment. The cost for the purchase of this shall not exceed $159,800. Now, if you'll recall, and we've all been down in the plant, this is the primary pump system. We already replaced 2 of the pumps last year. This is the 3rd pump,
A clarifier.
clarifier.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is the pump system.
Well, we rebuilt 2 of the clarifiers last year, two primaries last year, and both finals last year. This is for the last remaining primary.
This is in accordance with the plan we laid out. We only had so much money last year.
Correct.
Now we're buying the equipment to do the 3rd tank.
Yep.
Okay?
So this is the flight, you know, the rails
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
sprockets and
So
all
it's
that,
all of the equipment,
and
right?
also the motor to
Right.
operate it.
But we've all looked at it. So
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
all been down there.
Then the labor charge for installation be handled separately.
Well, that will be bid out. Yes.
Okay.
So this action item is to recommend purchasing the equipment, like with same
Like we
format
did
we
last
used
time.
last year.
Right.
Buy the equipment and then bid out the install. This will get us moving on the purchase of the equipment because the prices actually are going up. They actually have gone up almost $25,000 as compared to last year. There's also another scheduled increase of almost 10% that will happen in June, which we're going to be able to avoid by doing this month. So, but after that, everything will be rebuilt as far as the clarifiers are concerned.
This was in accordance with our plan. We looked at I'm specifically speaking of what I call the motors. I call them a pump, but they're the motors, and all the equipment in the clarifier tank. And we didn't have enough funding to do, this was our plan to purchase this in this fiscal year. So this is the first meeting of the fiscal year we're doing that. So I'll make the motion to approve the contract for the purchase of the equipment and for $159,800 from, and the name of the company is Polychem. And is there support?
I will support it.
Moved and supported. Are there other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the purchase of the primary tank equipment, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
I don't know if Ryan has looked into anything about that elevator or not.
He,
I think we should be keeping the eye on that elevator, and
He has, and I think the solution on that is going to be to mothball that elevator and move forward with a hoist that'll go multiple levels. I know that he's talked to Ohio about the requirements to have an elevator, and that we're not going to violate ADA by not having an elevator. And the movement of equipment between levels will be satisfied by this hoist system. So I believe that's the direction he's planning on moving forward with on that topic. That's the latest I have on that.
Wish we'd known that a couple of years ago.
Never happened 30, 40 years ago when they built the elevator. It just doesn't work.
We just spent a lot of money fixing it,
Yeah.
or trying to.
Does that answer your question for now, Les?
yeah, I guess so, but
Well, I had the same questions, but
you know, I've been up and down in that elevator, especially on rescue runs and stuff like that. And when Phil and I came up in that elevator, I was sitting there thinking, man, if this thing stops, we're screwed.
especially in the sewage plant.
Not where you want to break down in an elevator.
Okay, moving on. Derek, manager's report.
I wanted to provide to you a copy of the wastewater treatment plant millage proposal that went before the Township Board a couple of meetings ago. My intent was to bring it before a DPS commission meeting prior to going to the board, but unfortunately the scheduling didn't work out. But I did provide a copy to all of you via email, so you had the opportunity to review it before it went to the board. What's included with the packet this evening is the final language that was approved by the board and the final language that will end up actually on the August ballot. So that's more of an information item than anything, just so you're aware of what was passed and what we'll be promoting between now and August. And I think Bill will touch a little bit on a strategy for that later on in the meeting today. So just wanted to provide that for information purposes. Any questions about that language? If not, the water loss report's included in the packet on page 68 and 69 through March 11, aggregate 11.839.
Les, any comments?
Yeah, it's kind of getting a little bit behind. See what we're getting up to. Well, we're in our spring flushing, so that's going to go up a little bit. So we'll see what it looks like in another month or so.
Les, in your opinion, what's the ideal? 10%?
Well,
The ideal is 0, but
Zero.
yeah, and,
in reality,
and as much old pipe as we still have on this island, I don't think we're going to get much below 10%. I know at one time we used to have 40, I think it was 48 or 49% loss. We had no idea where these losses were at. And one of them was underneath the bridge going to Hickory Island, that bridge that they rebuilt last year. That's where it just so happened that it was located. It was me and the Fisher brothers. We were looking around for stuff that people throw off the bridge. We found a safe down there. And while we were down there, we see all this water coming up. So we got a hold of Eddie and we went and turned off Hickory Island, and sure enough, that stopped coming up. So that was one of our big losses, that the county had built the bridge over the water main, because the first bridge was over to the east more. So that's actually the third bridge down there. But anyhow, yeah,
We'll keep an
ideally
eye
it
on
would
it.
be, ideally it'd be 10%, but
we'll just keep looking at it month to month.
keep looking at her.
Okay, next is the DPS project report from our engineers.
In the interest of time, I'm not going to read all these for you. You all have a copy of it in front of you.
Right.
The big ones are the drainage project over at West River Road should be starting here shortly. They were waiting on that second permit to be authorized by the county, which that was taken care of, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So the contractor was going to be going down there any day to go pick up those permits and start that work. So that should be happening here shortly. Other than that, we talked about clarifier number 1 tonight, and that'll go before the board on the 23rd. Everything's going fairly well with the sanitary sewer televising. They're working on the south end of the island, and we still have to figure out ways to address some of the missed areas throughout the island that were impacted by water, as well as that stretch of sewer between Bellevue and Groseal Parkway, and actually farther south than that runs through the country club. So that's a large section of pipe that we've still got to figure out how best to address that. But that is going okay besides those, punch list item areas that we got to deal with. So are there any questions about where we're at with various projects?
The only disappointment I had is I thought that the work on that West River Road drain was going to commence while it was still winter.
And it would have. The issue there was when we added that second location, we wanted to do them as a combined project from an efficiency standpoint. So we had to go back to the county and pull a second permit, or actually what I think they ended up doing is actually rolling that project in with our original permit, and that kind of delayed things. So, but if we wanted both locations done, that was just the schedule is a little
right.
bit compromised as a result of that.
You talked to Campo, is he gonna start for sure in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, yep. So,
Worried that he was gonna get so busy with other things that this would go by the wayside.
no, they usually do a pretty good job of taking care of us, so that it's high on their priority list. That's all I have under my report.
All right, going down the agenda. Next item, our discussion items. I have a discussion item, and it's really listed under Chairman's report, so I'll hand this out if you hand that to Les. Bob, if you would come up here, I have extra copies. Maybe you could give one to Mrs. Stanko as well. And there's one. And do you have one, Derek?
I do, yes.
Okay, so this commission has 2 big items that we are concerned about. We wrote a report to the Township Board on roads and submitted it to the Township. I think it was dated October 12th, but we actually submitted it to them in November, recommending that we place on the November ballot a request to the voters to levy 1.4 mills, it's less than $1.5 million, 1.4 mills for 15 years to fix all the roads on the township. And there's a report. Anybody, if you are listening, you can get a copy of that report at the township manager's office. And what we need to do is we need to publicize the content of that report. We also have this issue that we just acted on this evening when we read the wording of a proposal that would go on the August primary to comply with the state requirements at our wastewater plant for basically the addition of a third outdoor clarifier before the water goes into the Trenton Channel. So we have an administrative consent order that the Township Board approved a few years ago, and we have to complete that project by 2025. We have to be under contract by 2024. So, proposals going forward from recommendations from this commission at the August primary to spend up to $9.5 to $10 million to comply with the state requirements at our wastewater plant. And then we have a 1.4 recommendation to go forward at the November ballot for roads. And there's a lot of complicated financing that takes place there. And one of them is for the wastewater plant, through the work of our manager, hopefully, millage is going to fall off from a sewer program that began in 2020. I'm sorry, in the year 2000, right? The year 2000. 1999, year 2000. Many of you longtime residents will remember the sewer program that was going on along Meridian. There were big shafts dug, 40-foot deep tunnel was put in. That was a $38 million program, and currently, this year and last several years, we're paying 4.5 mils for that. And that millage begins to fall off in 2024 and 25. So in terms of any net increase through the good work of the manager, we don't believe, if it all works out, that as far as the wastewater plant's concerned, anybody's going to experience a tax increase because of that from what we're paying today. In other words, not a net tax increase. And then as far as the road program, there would be a couple years overlap, but by the year 2025 and 26, when that 4.5 mils drops off, the road request wouldn't be an increase in what you're paying from today, unless other things cause taxes to go up. Excuse me. So anyway, we want to explain both programs, and we're working on developing brochures, handouts, literature that will explain these better than I'm doing right now. And excuse me. So what I'm proposing is that either beginning in June or July, that we start each of our meetings and make it a public hearing type format, but we're going to call it a public information meeting, where we start the first item on the agenda will be an explanation of both the sewer program, or the wastewater program, wastewater treatment plant program, and the roads program. And, you know, when we've tried this in the past, we haven't had a great turnout. So my thought was, if you look at the details of our road program, certain streets are in really bad shape. One is Bellevue, between Meridian and East River. Another one's Ferry, between Meridian and East River. We just fixed Church Road this past year, and we're out of money. We don't have any money to fix anything else. East River Road, for the most part, is in terrible shape. And I could go on and list several other roads. So my thought is, for our June or July meeting, we invite the residents of Bellevue to come in and hear our story. Now, we did that on Church Road, and we had like 5 people show up. But what I want to do is advertise that each one of the beginnings of each of our meetings between now and through October, we're going to start out with this public information meeting, and anybody interested in learning about either one of them is welcome to come in and hear the presentation. So that's going to require we prepare this written material, but I think that's one way of reaching out to people. So the second month that we start, first month I thought Bellevue, because Bellevue is really in bad shape. And not only is the road surface bad, but it dips. There's several intersecting streets, Les, you know all about those, and the road just dips. The edges are all broken down. Ferry Road is in terrible shape. It's all alligatored. You couldn't, the repair on that's going to be extensive. And of course, East River, those of us that drive it know how bad it is. And we could throw in the residents of West River. My idea was, I'm just trying to get people who may realize something beneficial from this program to actually come in and learn about it. We can't ask for a yes vote, but we can inform people, and that's what this effort's all about. So I'm looking for your comments. Phil?
Well, no, I definitely agree with that. I proposed this to Derek. Derek is aware of that. I think in this day and age with the telecommunications abilities and that we have, I think we also need to offer a videoed teleconferencing type Q&A type situation where residents can go online and can pose questions about the millages, questions about the proposals, and they'll be answered, and that all residents of Grosse Ile would have access to that. I guess what I'm talking about is possibly a page on our website to that effect.
Oh, I like that.
To where we can have a running dialogue on this process. You know, we've got this technology, let's use it. Because, you know, like you say, we did have interested people from Church Road that were here, but there might have been people that couldn't attend the meeting, and yet they, every now and then, would look at the website and they would see some situations, and if they could pose a question to the website, to the webmaster or whoever is in charge of it, and then we could, just through email amongst ourselves, come up with the answer and have the answer published on the website.
I think that's really good.
That-
I like that a lot.
That's one thing I have a comment on. The other thing I have a comment on is, I think before we go before the public with any more of this, I'd like to get a reassessment of our proposed costs for this, because we've been in an inflationary period for a year now since we put this out. And I don't want somebody coming up and saying, well, you say you can do this for so many $100,000. Well, in today's, you're not going to do it for that. It's going to cost 30% more. Is there a way we can get, Derek, I guess I'm speaking to you, can we get updated numbers on our estimates, both on the cost of projects and also on interest rate? I mean, I think we've been proposing a 3% interest rate. I have no idea if that
No,
was.
we worked it up at 4%.
Was it on 4% on the proposal, or
Yeah.
we've updated it?
It was 4% on the roads.
Yeah,
But you're right about that. That could, now, the market was at 3% for municipal bonds
Right.
back then, and we thought 5% was too much. But as far as the costs, we can ask our engineers to take a look at it. But the other thing is when we asked the engineers to update the estimates last year, 2021, we said for construction in 2023 and 24. But they've probably gone up.
Lots changed.
A lot's changed.
Yeah.
But,
We should have locked it in then.
well, that's just an indication of what we're up against. The longer we delay improvements, the more they're gonna cost.
And we talked about that each time we had these proposals out, was that it's not gonna get cheaper.
So,
Mr. Chairman, are you suggesting that we do a public hearing for the ACO stuff as well, for the required sanitary sewer improvements as well?
yeah, what I envision is that we have a handout for both the roads and the wastewater plant.
Okay.
And everybody that comes in, they're gonna get both messages.
Okay, all right.
And we're gonna explain the tax situation of how that's gonna work. So we have to develop that program. And I wanted to start it in June, but here we are. Let's say we start it in July. We have July, August, September, and October.
The only issue with the ACO work is going on the August ballot, and I think absentee ballots go out I think they go out pretty soon here, fairly soon.
30 days ahead of time.
Yeah, so I mean, but
July 1st.
yeah, so we'll probably want, if we could do it in June for the ACO at least.
Oh,
you
we
know.
will.
Okay.
Let's plan on that. At least have a presentation we can deliver. And then, I like Phil's idea, so we're gonna stay in communication with you on that and see what we can work up. We're gonna talk about it, okay? I like that idea. And,
I like both of those.
so, and we're gonna, my point to the commission is, you're probably gonna get bored by October going through this, but I think we have to get the word across. And you're both welcome to attend every one of our meetings. You know, Bob, that when we did the Grosse Hill Parkway change 12 years ago, whenever it was, you were at every one of those meetings, right? For a year, probably. Anyway, we finally got it done. So it works out pretty well on Blauvelt for all those people. All right, so that's all I have. I just wanted to, so your commission, everybody shaking their heads, you're endorsing this? And endorse what Phil has outlined? We need to get into it, and,
Your chairman's been working diligently to start putting information together, so as far as the, a publication.
yeah,
So-
you'll have at least a draft publication for the roads, another brochure to look at your next meeting. Okay? That's all I have. Go around the table. Dave, anything?
Just at the last Board of Trustees meetings, and you all may know this, priority waste contract extensions were approved through '24. As Derek mentioned, the language for the wastewater treatment plant millage for August was approved by the board, and officially Lenny's resignation was accepted. So that's from the Township Board.
Yes, and I would just comment about Lenny's resignation. We're sorry to see Lenny Pedestris go. Lenny was a valued member of this commission, did a lot of good work for us, and I know he was also a volunteer fireman, did a lot of good work there. So, Lenny, our best to you in your future moves, whatever it might be, and thank you very much for your service. Phil.
Nothing further.
Les.
Or what are we on discussion items, or are we down to commissioner's report?
Well, they're both the same.
Well,
Okay. I talked to John Keim about this little problem we have on Swan Island, about all the rust that accumulates on the north end. I came up with an idea of maybe temporarily repairing this, and then another idea was to be able to end that problem. There's 3 different things we can do. The first thing I talked to John about is maybe we could move Mr. Shepherd's tap like 50, 60 feet down the road so he's not on the end of that water main. So he's in the good water. The second thing was the idea came up to me to extend the water main and put a 90-degree on it or a T and run it over to the seawall, excuse me, and put a blow-off on it. Not a fire hydrant, a blow-off. So when things start getting gunky, you just open it up and it goes right in the river. And the other thing was to replace it or line it. Now, I don't know if you have a problem on your end, Phil.
I'm at the very end. My water's fine.
See, the other end, I don't know where, I've seen what's going on at Jerry Shepherd's place. He showed me these filters and stuff that they're going through. It's just astronomical.
Which house is his, Les?
Point.
The very end, okay.
That's the north end, right?
Yeah.
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 I mean, he filled his pool up and it's orange.
We've had no problem on the south end at where I am. Zero.
That north end, I don't know if it's deteriorating on the inside of the pipe or it's just that it's such a short dead end. But to eliminate one thing right off the bat, I mean, we could get somebody down there to directional bore, find his tap, cut it off, and move it halfway down that lot and tap him in before the crappy water gets to the very end.
Have you checked with any other of the residents
I've
going
never
north
heard
had an
anything from
issue?
anybody else.
I mean, has somebody gone around, knocked on their door and asked them?
But that's something we could do.
I mean, I
I
think
thought
that's
that-
what we should do first.
I talked to John, and John is, well, not here today, but I wanted to bring that up.
Is John Keim aware of this?
Yeah, John and I sat and talked about it in my front room.
You're aware of it because you had somebody complain to you and
Well, Jerry, they were, he's close friends of my son-in-law. And he was telling me how bad it is. So I said, well, I'll see if I can get that flushed tomorrow morning for you. And the guys did go out there and flushed it. And Jerry praised me. He showed me some of these filters that he's using in his house. It's just terrible.
all right, so why don't we we'll ask Keim when he gets back in town to get, as Phil suggested, check with the other owners and you and try to get a report ready. Let's put this item back on our agenda for next month. And we're talking basically 3.5 weeks from now. We ought to be able to get some course of action on this. I don't know how bad it is, but I'll be glad to get involved.
Yeah, it's bad.
Okay.
Another thing is, Derek, I noticed that Priority was complaining about, the recycling bins and stuff blowing all over the place. What was their solution for that? Did they come up with
They had suggested going to like a 65-gallon bin that was distributed to every household in the community.
they want to do that?
They did, but if you recall the conversation, they wanted us to extend the contract by 5 years so that they could amortize the cost of that across that new term. And I think that kind of came off the table when we talked about just doing a 2-year extension rather than that new 5-year term. So,
Okay, because I'll tell you what, there's a couple people on this island, I'm one of them, that I ended up contacting the company that we bought those recycling bins from, and I bought a box of lids. And when my recycling bin goes out, it's always got the lid on it. And I even proposed, we get the lids in here, we could sell them for $5 a piece and make money off of it. And then the stuff wouldn't be blowing all over the place, number one. Number two, it wouldn't get soaking wet if it's raining out. So I don't know how this came out with priority, but that was my thought, and I didn't get back with you and didn't hear anything.
yeah, because the 65-gallon container, not only was it a cost, it was also, whether we wanted to burden our residents with a container that large, and not everybody used 65 gallons of recyclables on a weekly basis, so, that's a better option. Can you send me that information about, was it just the supplier of the totes? The 18-gallon totes was providing those? The lids?
Well, no, it didn't come with a lid, but the blue ones we're using now.
Right. The provider of those was the one that you got the lid from? Is that what you're
Right.
saying? Okay.
Head lids.
Oh, yeah. And the reason I found out about these lids is I was riding a motorcycle one day, and there was a community somewhere that had the blue recycling boxes like we got, and they had the yellow lids. And I'm going, oh, Michigan colors, go blue.
Oh,
So I took the information that's imprinted on the end of the thing, and I contacted them. And the lady was asking me all kinds of questions. Well, who are you, and what is this, and everything? And I says, no, it's not going through the Township of Groseal, but I work for the Township of Groseal, and I will pay for them by my own. And Frank Sushin, he had 2 of those on the back of his truck, because when he'd go up north, boom, away you go.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. That's a good suggestion.
I think I got the information still sitting on my
And I
kitchen.
can have Donna take a look at talk to the vendor. We've got all the information at
They're
Township.
not that expensive.
you're talking about the lids.
The lid.
I did not personally wouldn't want to burden the residents with a larger container like they want to do it because it's easier for them to collect. Those big containers, and that
I
costs
had-
money.
I had some people come and ask me about the lids, and the ones that I did get were all gone.
All right. Well, one of the things I notice is people are still not recycling properly. They're throwing everything in the world in the recycling bins, and I guess we'd be better off having a new education program on what's recyclable and what's not. I see people my neighbors will throw just receipts, a pile of receipts, because it's paper. Well, I don't think that's a value recyclable, just a bunch of thin paper. Just people aren't recycling properly. And as far as it blowing all over, I'm aware of that, and if it's gonna be windy, I don't put anything that's just gonna blow all over. I usually cover the papers up with something heavier. People have to, if you wanna recycle, do it appropriately. So they're not gonna blow all over. Then there's another problem with priority, and I complained to John and maybe you, Derek, about it, is they're trying to go fast as they can to collect garbage and recyclables, and they're not careful about where they throw the bins.
No kidding.
Observed it again this week. I mean, so when we do meet with priority, we gotta slow down a few seconds, and I know a few seconds is stop, but don't put the bin back in the middle of the road.
I had the guy that's the foreman out here. You guys must know him too. I'm on first name basis with him. I got his cell phone number set right on my kitchen table. I look out in the front yard, they're sitting in the middle of the road. Hello?
I just go out and pick all of them up and put them on
I
the
think,
grass.
why can't they put it back where they got it?
I don't know.
Because I sat there and watched them, they'll pick up the recycling bin, dump it in the back of the truck, and drop it right there on the road.
Well, you know, when we contracted with them and we went up and visited them, that was a big selling point that they mentioned to us, was the fact that the bins would go back, the area would be left neat. And I too have talked to Mark recently about a few things. The issue is they're expanding so fast. They have so many new employees and
It's always going to be.
yeah. And so to get a consistent crew that's here week after week, and then next week they're off somewhere else, so they have new people in. But that was a big selling point when we went with them. I recall that definitely. Remember we went up and visited them and watched the crew in operation, and that's what they were.
Well, every once in a while you need to remind them. But is it true that they got the city of Flint? Do you know?
I believe so, yeah. Yep.
Big contract for them. All right, anything else, Les?
No, that's all I got. The two items are on my mind.
Okay, one final one that I'd forgotten is I happened to have lunch with Ron Moran, Ron is the chairman of the DDA. And Ron gave me a copy of what's called the DDA master plan. It's hard to read what's in it. You got to look at, this is just a picture of downtown. And they got a lot of photographs of buildings. And then they have, the back page talks about putting in historical markers, sculptures, art for downtown, murals, and what they call wayfinding. Different signs, all decorative to spruce up the downtown. Anyway, bottom line is, Ron said if your commission would like sometime, he'd like to come in and make a presentation to us. He felt like that we should know what the DDA is planning on doing. And I think that's a good idea. So certainly not for our June meeting, but maybe our July or August meeting, after our public information meeting, maybe he could make a presentation to us what's going on in the downtown. Sound okay? Sounds good. Sound okay? Okay, with that, if there's no other further business from Bob?
Bob Z. Olavette, Les. Sorry. Thank you for allowing me to be part of the conversation. I thought it to be very constructive. You fellows did a great brainstorming. Les had every right to question the monies. Monies are very tight right now, as our treasurer will tell you. In every department and every commission has a mammoth job in front of them to try and do the best they can. I will say this, though. I have seen this commission over the years do an excellent job in taking care of projects with the amount of revenue that you have. You've done a great job. I think that's due to good management, good leadership, knowledge, and working together as a team. You guys execute that very well. I made a comment here, and I don't want you fellows to take heck for it. I referenced my car in the dust. I don't want somebody calling in here and saying, hey, they just approved $11,000 so Bob Z could keep his car clean. I referenced the car only to show that in a short duration of time how much dust could get on it. So I don't want you fellows to take heck for that. And
What you need to do is get a white car. You won't see it.
yeah, well, hey, I'm not worried about my car. I'm worried about my lungs, my eyes, and that of everybody else. And what you fellas did when you promoted your dust control program today, you addressed public health and public safety, and that's so very important. So thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you for your comments, Bob. Appreciate. You're always welcome to attend our meetings. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support?
I will second it and third it or whatever.
All in favor of adjourning, indicate by saying aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.